Good afternoon, everyone. This is Michelle, and I do apologize about being a few minutes late. This afternoon, we are going to actually go over the administrative features and the functions. And to my knowledge, you should have already received your email for the 2018 season to go ahead and get that set up and ready to go. And just to make sure to test it, if you guys can hear me, let me know by raising your hand. So I am going to first do TaxWise Online as far as the administrative features, especially if you have new preparers or if you are a new office and you need to get everybody set up in the office. And then we'll go on over to the desktop version, and I will go ahead and log into the 2018 to show you how to bring over everything as far as that is concerned. So when you first initially log in to the software, and right now I'm in twonline-17.taxwise.com. If I was to open up another instance and go to TW Online and change the 17 to an 18, it would bring me over to the 18 version. When you guys are logging in, you're going to notice that there is a two-step login procedure now, and whatever email address that you have on file is where the code is going to actually get sent to. And lucky enough, I actually took screenshots this morning, so let me see where that is at. Okay, so when you first initially log into the software, it's going to want to verify your identity, and it's going to show just a little couple letters of what your email address is, and it's going to want to send the code to your email. And once it sends the code over to the email, this is what you're basically going to get. Please use the following sign-in verification code when prompted. Next step is to copy and paste it into here. And one very important thing is where it says underneath submit, it says trust this device for 90 days. If you don't want to have to keep entering the code, then you can go ahead and select trust this device for 90 days so it won't ask again for another 90 days. Once you hit that and you hit submit, it will bring you back into the login screen. Once that's taken care of, you don't have to worry about it for another 90 days. Every user is going to have to go through the same process of being able to get in with the two-step verification. If you go to the support site and you're using the desktop, or even if you're not using the desktop and you download the desktop just in case you need to use it if the internet goes down and you need to update it, it's going to have you do the same procedure when you go to support.taxwise.com. So that's going to look a little bit different, and that is going to actually... This is what you're going to see when you first go to the support site. So this is your new security enhancements. It's going to go all over it, tell you what you need to do as far as client ID, password. You hit continue, and it's going to go through the same method of emailing you over the code so that you can put it into the software. So now, 2018 season, if you come in here, you have the capability of... Mine is not fully functional because I don't do taxes on a daily basis, so I'm going to show you how to do it in the 2017 software. When you want to set up users and you first come in here, come over here to where it says Administrator and go to Settings. And when you come over here to Manage User, this is where you're going to enter your users, or during the off season you decided to have a bunch of users but you deactivated them and they didn't work over the summer, that's fine. All you would basically need to do is go into the user if they're going to continue working with you and mark them as active and make sure that the licensed user is in the right hand side. Once that's done and you save it, they'll be able to get access into the system. As far as a new user goes, come over here and select Create New User. And you can label it as Michelle. And I'm just going to use my personal email. I'm going to say, is active user checked off? I'm going to put myself as a super user, and just for giggles, I'm going to put myself as an admin. You have to make sure that the licensed user is on the right-hand side in order for them to be able to get access. Once you save it, they will get an email sent to them so that way they can log into the system. You do have the capability of limiting them as to what they can do. If you just want them to prepare the return but not e-file it, then you can easily select, wrong one. You can select on the left-hand side that you may just want them to be able to do, well, it's already set to return prepare. You may want them to also be able to do like an interview or things like that. So you don't have to make them a super user, because super user does give them the capability of being able to e-file. Very important thing, this is an online software. As long as they have that link, twonline-17 or 18.taxwise.com, they can log in anywhere that they have internet access. So if you just want them to be able to prepare a return but not e-file it, then go ahead and select that. That way you can at least get in there and review the return and e-file it, so it prevents them from being able to utilize the software while they're not at work. You do have the capability, if you notice, if they do have the privileges to be able to do returns, and you notice that there is an IP address that's not yours at the office or at your house or anything, you can restrict the IP address so that they can't log in from that IP. So once you have the user set up, just let them know to check their email. If they have emails like Gmail or Yahoo or things like that, have them always check the spam folder, because it may go into there. Mark it as a safe sender. That way they can continue to get emails in case they need it. As far as return templates, you can carry them over from 1 year to the next. So if I come over here and let's see if I do have it. I'm going to come into the 2019 season, and I'm going to go over to my administrator, and I'm going to go over to the general settings. And I'm going to go over to carry forward templates. And I'm going to select carry forward templates because I have one template in 2017. And I can bring that over into the 2018 software, and I don't have to rekey it in. And as soon as that's done, previous tax year template successfully brought forward to the current year. I'm going to hit save and close. And I'm going to come over here to the return templates, and my 1040 from the 2017 was brought over. Makes it a whole lot simpler. Come back over here to the settings. Since it does have the settings in 2018, I'll go ahead and show you a lot of other settings in here. Well, while that's thinking, I'll come back over to the 2017. As far as the general settings, it's mostly going to remain the same. If you can think of anything as far as your custom fields, because I like to reiterate, this is a great tool to be able to see, like, how did your customers hear about you, especially if you have a marketing campaign and you do it via email, via snail mail with a postcard, via the Facebook, via Instagram, radio ad, TV ad, things like that. Then you can come in here and do a prepare use field and mark it as how did you hear about us, and pick the list values like newspaper, Facebook, Instagram, radio, TV, referral. So if you do have I have a customer, like I tell everyone that's in New York, that does it on a yearly basis. If they refer a certain amount of people, 5 or 10, then they give that customer a laptop. And most laptops, especially now that Black Friday is here, are very inexpensive and something to invest in, especially if you are charging your customers a certain amount and it pays for itself well over, especially if you get 10 referrals in the door. So it's nothing to give over an inexpensive laptop, and that's a great marketing tool for people because most people don't have laptops, and this is a way for them to be able to get it, especially if they have 10 friends that they can refer to you. So you can come in here, do your custom fields, do your return stages, especially if you have multiple people in the office, because in case you are the one that signs off on the returns to make sure everything is correct and that you are the one that e-files it, if there is something wrong with the return itself, you can have a return stage in here to where it says questions, or where it says completed, so you know that it's already completed, you don't have to worry about it. E-filed, waiting on state, because the way that it works is we send the e-file, the federal first, and then once the federal has been accepted, we send the state. So that way you know that you're just waiting on that, and then you can go mark it as complete. Missing documents or questions ready to e-file, waiting for review, especially with returns that have been rejected. If the preparer is working on the return and you've noticed that it's been sitting in there for the past couple days, especially around the time for April 15th or October 15th, or if you're doing business returns March 15th and I think it's September the 15th, you want to make sure that these get out in a timely manner, because if you send them on April the 15th, they've been rejected, you only have a 5-day window to be able to resubmit it. So you want to make sure to keep checking on your reports, because there is a rejected return report that you can run, and there are notation system in the return in case the people are, or the preparer is working on the return or missing documents, things like that, so that way you are aware that that it's being worked on. So we're going to hit save and close. And we are going to come over here to, let me check the client letter templates to see. So as I see right now, there is not a letter for the state returns. I did send an email over to our contact to see if there is a way for us to be able to create one by doing a new template. And once I hear back from him, I'll let you guys know, because I know that a bunch of you have been asking for the state letter. And we're going to cancel that. And we're going to go back over to settings. And as far as anything else like send settings, if you have multiple preparers or offices, then you can send like the return stage, the custom fields, the templates, and so forth to the other offices. But if you come in here to the return templates and you've already created different templates for each of the preparers in your office, because it might be something different for each one, then you can easily assign it once you're in there, or hit the assign on the outside. So I can assign the 1040 template to Michelle, and then I'm going to assign it. And then I might have 10 different templates in here because I have the preparer information for Michelle in the 1040. I might list it as Michelle as far as the template goes. And then I might come down here and have another one listed as Susan or Freddie or Betty or Andrew, and assign it to those preparers in the office. So that way I know that all of their preparer information, their PIN, so forth, is already pulled into the return. So when they do a new return, it's there. Now, as far as anything else goes in the TaxWise Online of being able to set up administrators and stuff like that, I'm going to ask to see if you guys have any questions before I go over to the desktop version. So let's close some of these windows. Now, when I installed the software for the desktop version or even the online version, when you go into the one for 2018, and I'm going to come back over here to the dashboard. Like I tell everyone, bookmark it so that way you can find it easily. Also, come over here to the three little dots and go to More Tools and go to Create Shortcut. I have mine listed as 2018 CIT TWO for TaxWise Online. So that way I know that all I've got to do is double click it and it brings me into the login screen. For the desktop version, I've got mine listed as the 2018 and 2017 so I can differentiate between the years. So I'm going to click on the 2018 version. Any version before the 2018 is going to have a little pop-up that wants you to verify the date. Once you verify it, it'll let you get into the software. So I'm going to come over here to the admin and I'm going to log in, and it's going to end up doing the two-step verification here as well. So I'm going to go into the 1040s and I'm going to hit cancel so that way I can come over here. When you first initially install the software, what you're going to get is this screen right here because it wants you to set it up. So you're going to put your EFIN and your registration code, you're going to validate it. You're going to come over here to do your configuration settings. So if you had returns in the 2017 software and you're utilizing the desktop version solely, then that's fine. Even if you utilized it when the internet was down, that's fine as well. Because what you're going to do is you're going to select use last year's configuration. So it brings over the EIN database, the client letters, users and groups, preparers, setup, tax form defaults, print packets. So I'm going to load the configuration, and it's going to bring over everything that I had in 2017. And I'm going to say yes to all because I've already done it. So now that I'm done, I'm going to hit next. It's going to want you to probably do the verification. Probably, again, you can just hit refresh data. I'm going to come over here to the office information, make sure that everything is correct on here. And then I'm going to come over here to the group and users. If you had groups and users in there last year, it'll just bring it over. If you need to create new users in the software, then you can use the predefined groups that are already set in here. You do have the capability of being able to come over here to the security groups and creating one. So that way you can tell the system what exactly you want that group to be able to do, like acknowledgments, align. Well, you're not going to be doing align checks in here, like carry forward, things like that. So you can tell them, okay, well, I just want them to be able to prepare the return and to review it. I just don't want them to e-file it. So once you've already established your security group, then head over here to the user tab and go to new. And you're going to put in a username and then the password for them. And then you're going to decide what type of group you want them to be a part of. Most people just use like the super user, so that the way they have the capability of being able to get in there to prepare the return, to e-file it, and to print it. If not, use the one that you created. And it'll bring everything over that it is, and then you hit OK. Give the information over to the preparer, their username and their password, so that they can get in. Once they initially log in for the first time, they'll end up doing the two-step verification as well. Once you are done with the group and users, then come over here to the preparer information. This, if you had it last year, will pull over to this year. If you have new preparers, go ahead and get this set up and just hit new. My prepare user ID is listed as 1 because it's easy for me to hit 1 and hit tab and it pull it in. So just go down 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm going to label this one as 2, and I'm going to hit all and enter all the information as far as that preparer goes. You can enter their initials, you can enter their name. It doesn't matter, just as long as they can remember it. Once it's done, then it'll be put into the list. And like I said, when they go to the preparer information on the main information sheet, they just hit 1 and hit tab. It pulls it in. And if they go over to the 8879, they hit 1 and they hit tab, it pulls it in again. So we're going to come over here to the printer and network. This is where you're going to choose what printer you want to have it sent to, then just in case you do need to print out something for the customer. Everything in the software prints to PDF. You can email them a PDF. You can use the portal to email it to them. You don't necessarily have to print it, but if they want a hard copy, then of course you can print it for them. We're going to go over to general options. This is if you have a network installation, you don't have to worry about this. But if you've installed it on a non-network and it's basically you've assigned one computer to be able to transmit the returns, so you'll have to back up the returns from any other computer and restore it to the transmitter computer. Or if they're just using it because the internet went down and they're still preparing returns, that's fine, but I would still get in here when you're setting it up on each of the computers if they're standalone. Put the current MEF submission to something different on each computer. If you do a good amount of returns on one computer, put it at 0, next computer put it at 1,000, next computer put it at 2,000, and so forth, so that they don't ever mix when they pull the return up into TaxWise Online. Or when you're doing a backup of that return and restoring it on the transmitting computer, it never mixes with the other ones that you have. So we're going to hit, and then of course the color setup. Somebody did tell me about this in one of our other ones. There are different color setups and you can hit it. This is what it normally looks like. Some people like the classic, and I do like the classic because it's a little bit more brighter. And of course, they have other ones like default without color coding, the DOS classic if you like the blue background and stuff like that. So whichever one that you want, you can come in here and decide. You don't have to stick with just the plain Jane right here. So once you've decided, go ahead and hit OK. And then we're going to hit next to go to the carry forward taxpayer data. This is where it's going to look at your database and pull over the returns from the previous year. So that way, when you enter a new return, it'll say carry forward information exists. Would you like to load it? So that way you don't have to rekey everything in. So we're going to select carry forward data. I'm going to select the guest user. And I'm going to select all clients, and it's going to go through the motions and tell me that the process has been completed. And I'm going to hit save. Well, let me make sure if you guys are networked, then make sure to hit the save as workstation default and then hit save and close. Now, if you already have your print packet set up from the previous year, then they'll flow over. If not, and you are a new user, then come over here to setup and go to view edit print packets. And you have a selection to be able to edit like the ones for the signature pages, the file copy, the taxpayer federal or state copy, things like that. So file copy, there may be things in here that I never wanted to print out. So I can select to remove the main information sheet because I'm not going to paper file that with a return. I'm going to paper file the 1040, page 1, page 2, and so forth. And if you create defaults, which we'll get to in a second, and you preload a bunch of forms that are on the left-hand side, you may want to opt to print completed forms so it doesn't print every single form that's in that return. So it'll only print the ones that you've completed. And then once you've done it, go ahead and hit save so it saves it to the database. Now, I'm going to go over to the tax form defaults and then we'll come back over to that menu. Tax form defaults are a great way to save a bunch of time and for you to be able to set up all the different users in the desktop version. So when you come over to tools and you go to edit tax form defaults, I'm going to select 1040. Anything that I know that I can default to the 1040, like if I need to bring in my home state, which is Georgia, I can put it there. I can put each preparer ID because I'm going to show you how to copy this file over to the other preparers so that way they don't have to rekey everything in or bring it in, as long as when they do a new return, it pulls it in. So you can come down here. Oh, and of course, if you come over here to view and you go to edit tax form defaults, I am blind. I like to see the things a whole lot bigger than what they normally are. So just go over here to view. edit tax form defaults, and select 20, and it'll bring it to the highest setting possible. That way you can see it. So I'm going to come down here and enter bank products, especially if I'm utilizing this for all of my returns. I'm going to put EPS in here. I'm going to come down here. My 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is already in there. Check here if you're using the practitioner pin, and then I'm going to select, it's going to say that because I don't have EPS. Using it for the tax return, I'm going to come down here and say I authorize. You'll notice that all of my information is already pulled in because I pulled it over from last season. If I'm doing a different preparer, then I'm going to hit 2 and then hit enter or tab so it brings in their information. So that way I can copy this file over to their user and they don't have to worry about keying everything in. So anything that you would like to default or bring in as far as the forms, go ahead and bring it in here. Once you're done, you hit close. Now, in order to get it over to the rest of the users in the office on the network, what you will actually have to do is come back over here to Tools and go to Utility Setup, and then go to File and go to Return Explorer. Once you get in here, you're going to notice the file options. I'm going to show, and I'm going to scroll up to the top and hit tax form defaults. Tax form defaults will always be a number, I for individual, and a bunch of zeros. So once I select it, I can come over here to Actions, copy files to another location. If I want it to go to all the users because I just created a master account one, then I can do that. But if I want it to go to a specific user, then I can get in here and select it, and then I can hit copy. File copy was successful. The print packets, when you come back to the drop down, you can select packet form list and copy that over all of them, the ones that you actually did, copy them all over to another user or to all users or things like that. That way they have those already as their settings. So I'm going to hit close, and I am going to exit out of this. Now, you may also want to, because I, in my 2017, had different tabs. And if it's networked, then everybody else in the office will be seeing it. If not, then you'll have to create them on each standalone computer. So when I come over here to Tools, and I go to Browser tabs, and I go to Add New Tab, I might want to put Support Site, and put in support.taxwise. As long as I spell it right, .com, and I'm going to hit OK. So I am at the support site, and this is very important. Once you install the software, you can come over here and go to product updates, enter your information, and I'm going to come over here, and because I don't have it set up currently in the software, so we're going to go to product updates. And it's automatically defaulted to 2018. So I'm going to put it back to 2017 so I can show you what you're looking for. You want to make sure, especially if you're using the online version, that you keep the desktop version up to date. So like once a week, just go in there and check to see if there is updates. So that way, if you have to use the desktop version, you can get in there and it's all the way up to date. And if you tell a customer they're getting back a refund of $1,500, but when you pull it into the online version because the desktop was not updated, it looks like they're getting $1,200 back. So we always want to make sure that the desktop is updated. So left-hand side, you will see the comprehensive updates. Right-hand side, you will see the federal updates like the 1040, and if you use the business ones like 1065, 1120, and so forth. You'll have to come over here to the state updates and go to add a state if you don't already have it listed there. And depending on the individual or the business, go to add states to my package. And if you select a state, it's automatically going to bring up, are you sure you want to add North Carolina to your package? Once you hit OK and you come back over to the state updates, it's going to be in the list right on either the left or the right-hand side. In order to download any of these updates, you're always going to do the little box with the arrow pointing down. Make sure that the desktop version is closed. It's fine if you come into your software and you download it from here. Once it's downloaded into your downloaded folder, then close the program before applying the updates, because if you try to do it while it's open, it's going to cause a lot of issues and give you a lot of errors. And as far as the bank goes, if you are utilizing the desktop version solely for your practice, then you will need to come over here to the bank updates and do the one for EPS. So that way it brings in the forms for EPS and you won't get that error that I had. So I'm going to come back over to the home page. And anything that you can think of as far as putting it as a tab in here, especially like EPS's website or IRS.gov website or Where's My Refund website, then you can put it as a tab so it makes it easier for you to be able to hit those tabs. Otherwise, if you're using the online version, then you can do what I do and create a desktop icon, because I have my knowledge base right here. I also have my support site somewhere around here, so that way all I got to do is double click it, it takes me to it. If you don't want to create a desktop icon, then you can still bookmark it, so that way you can go into your bookmarks and just select it so it takes you to where you need to go as far as like my solution center. Either way is fine. We want to make sure that everything is at your fingertips and you don't have to go searching for it or do a Google search for it like that. So it's there. Now, let me see if I need to show you anything else as far as the desktop version goes. Okay, so do you have any questions as far as the online or the desktop admin features go? Or do you want me to show you anything in particular? Now, I'm going to have Lexus actually send probably tomorrow, since the office is officially closed for Thursday and Friday due to the holidays. We won't be back in the office until Monday. So I will actually have her send out the webinar information as far as next week goes. If you guys are new to this software, I'm going to be having 2 different classes next week for conversions to show you how to get those taken care of, so that way you're not having to rekey everything into the software itself. So please join me for that, so that way we can get you set up. So I'm going to be sticking around for probably the next 15 to 20 minutes, if not a little less. If you guys have any questions, please let me know, so that way I can show you how to do the administrative features either in TaxWise or a TaxWise desktop or online. So somebody had a question. If you had 2017 online, are you saying that everything will transfer to 2018? If you had the online version for 2017 and you go into the 2018, yes, it will carry the information over into the 2018. That's the same principle as for the desktop version. If you had the 2017 desktop version, it will carry over into the 2018 software. We try to make it as easy as possible, so that way you are not having to rekey everything or set up everything year after year. So this makes it a whole lot less complicated. Oh, yes, pricing. So if you are setting up different pricing as far as online version, let me get back over here. When you go over to the templates, and if you create different templates for different customers, so like let's say you have one lady in the office that does bank products, and then you have one lady in the office that does only Schedule C's. So if you have a template set up for them, then you can come in here and edit the price list. If you come over here to pricing, you can enter what pricing you charge. So you can come over here and say, okay, well, I charge $5 for 1040, and you'll notice that they've also included Schedule 1, Schedule 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 because of the new forms that we're going to be using. And I have a webinar coming up next week to show you all the new features that are in the software. So please join me for that one too. So enter all of the information as far as what you charge. You don't have to charge it by form. You can come over here to the other field and just say tax prep fee and put an amount in there. For the desktop version, you'll have to come over to the edit tax form defaults and go into whatever package that you're wanting to do it for. And then come over here to where it says price, and you'll be able to enter the information as far as the pricing goes. And of course, same principle applies. If you don't want to charge by form, you can get over here and put it tax prep fee and put in an amount in there. Okay. And like I said, if you create more than one tax form default or template, then you can reassign it to different customers. It's a whole lot simpler in TaxWise Online because it allows you to create multiple ones, where the desktop version only allows you to create one of them, copy it over to that user, then you'll have to come back in here, create another one, copy it over to the other user. So somebody else had a question. Suppose you didn't have the desktop for 2017, but the online version. When you download the desktop, then yes, if you are solely using TaxWise Online, but you utilize the desktop when the internet goes down. Once the internet comes back online, what you will do is hit OK. Nope, I don't want to go back into it. Close it. And you'll come over here to communications. The first thing on here, it says transfer to TaxWise Online. So you can transfer all the files that were created in the desktop while it was down and get into the online version and be able to submit the e-files from there. As far as the $15 fee goes, it gets charged on every single return, and it's just a flat $15 fee. That includes the federal and the state and the bank product. If you guys are not aware, if you are signed up with the bank application, please sign up for the debit cards, the prepaid debit cards, because if you can convince your customer to have their refund put on the prepaid card, then we rebate you that $15. So essentially, if all of your customers go on the prepaid debit card and that's all you do is bank products, you're getting the software for free. Another question, are we going to have secure portal where clients upload documents? Yeah, I think it's called Portal still. So yes, you will be able to exchange documents back and forth. New feature this season in the online version, because I know the desktop version had the capability of being able to do the e-signature, where you can send out the documents and it already highlight in red where the signature is at. The online version is going to have it this year as well. So if the customer drops off their paperwork or even uploads their documents, then you can easily send out the signature pages to them. They don't have to come back in the office to sign it. You can just send it to them, have them sign it either in the desktop or the online version. And for those of you that used the desktop version last year and would like to utilize the online version, just give us a call and we can get you set up with the online version. And that goes vice versa. If you use the online version and want to go to the desktop version, just let us know. If you guys have questions, that's what I'm here for, so that I can show you in the software or on anything else like the support site or the bank website, things like that. As far as somebody was asking about the IP address and how to restrict it, if you are on one network at work, it has one IP address that's the same across the network. If I was to go across the street to the tea shop and log in from there, then I would have a different IP address showing up. Or if I go home and I'm on a different network, then that's going to show me a different IP address. But if you're in the same location and you are all using the same internet, then it's only going to give you that one IP. Unless, of course, you have it set up to give you a different IP, because I've known people, and of course, I use it myself. I have a program installed to where I can mask my IP because I really don't want everybody and their brother sending me advertisements on dog treats or dog beds or things like that. So I do have something installed to my computer where I can mask my IP or use a different one. Somebody had a question, can we use both desktop and online version? Online version is for the 1040s, and if you have that, then you can only utilize the desktop for the business returns. So it technically, you could prepare your 1040 returns in the desktop version, but you're having to go through the whole motions of sending it to TaxWise Online and then logging into the TaxWise Online and e-filing it from there. We want to make sure that you have a backup in case the internet goes down, so you install the desktop version so you can still continue to work. It would just be too many steps for you to be able to utilize them both at the same time, unless, of course, you're using the desktop version for just the business returns. And then somebody else had a question, will pricing auto load for the banking product? Yes. So when you go over to the EPS application in either the desktop or the online version, whichever one that you're using, that $15 pricing that gets charged will automatically load. Whatever you enter onto the pricing sheet will flow over to the bank application, so it will include it in the fees that get withdrawn from the refund. You're welcome. So another question was, how can we get an alert when a check is ready to be printed? So this year, since we have partnered with EPS, it's going to be a different method for you to be able to do printing because it is not actually in the online version. And you really don't come over here to where it says bank and go to print the check from there. What you'll have to do is you go to the EPS website to print the check. And let me make sure of something. And it's usually that the checks get dropped in the morning time. So, well, let me rephrase that. If you're doing the advanced loan, it's like a minimum of a couple hours to up to 24 hours for it to be approved for the advanced loan. So, let's see. Because I don't recall it actually having an alert to be able to tell you that you got a check print file. You would just have to go to the website to be able to see what check prints you have available. And of course, make sure that you have Adobe installed to your computer to be able to print those checks out. Okay, so no, it doesn't look like they have somewhere where you can actually get alerted that you have them. You cannot access the bank website inside the software unless, like in the desktop version, you have the tab already situated right here. Like you can have it automatically take you to the login page so that way you can go ahead and log in. And of course, when you're over here and you go to epsfinancial.net, you can bookmark the login. And you can copy this when you come in here and go to back to the desktop and go to tools and go to browser tab and go to add new tab and say EPS. Put them there. So that way it takes you directly to the login if you're using the desktop. Otherwise, in the online version, you can bookmark it. You can also come to your three little dots and go to more tools and go to create shortcut. And it'll say EPS Financial, and it'll put it a desktop icon. So that way, where did it go? Right here. And I don't think you guys see it. So you can easily double click it. Yes, Acrobat is the same thing as Adobe. And tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to go over the EPS Bank Products, and I'm going to show you how to go in here to print your check if you guys want to join me. And if you can't make it to that one, I'm going to have one on Monday at about noon Eastern time. So you can come in there and I'll show you how to get in there if you haven't already applied for your bank application. And then, of course, like if you guys want to do the ERO loan and you haven't already told us, make sure to call us to tell us so that way we can get it over to EPS so we can see about submitting that application. But yes, either class for the EPS Bank Products will go over like check printing and things like that. Somebody asked, are we going to be able to have access to this and all recorded videos? I've already given all the information over to Omar, and he will probably end up putting it on the YouTube channel. Now that I have the 2018 version of the desktop version, I will start to create videos for that to be put on the YouTube channel. You're very welcome. When you say EPS said that you can't do bank loans for new people, are we referring to like you're a new EFIN just starting out, or people that have never applied or have never done business with you, they come to you, or people that have always done the regular bank product and never did the bank loan? Or I think you might refer to the ERO loan. As far as I know, it's about the ER loan. It's a startup loan to get you started with the cost of starting up the business. And if you have bank history, you are not technically a new bank product customer. What you'll need to do, especially if they said that you can't have the loan because you're a new person, call the office so that way we can get your history that you had with your previous bank or software, and we can get it over to EPS and see about getting you approved. I think the minimum amount of bank products that they want you to have as far as applying for the ERO loan is 50 fully funded ones. So yes, if they told you that you can't have that ERO loan, call us so that way we can get it straightened out. I'm not sure if EPS does the prep fee advance. I think they I know they do the ERO loan and then the pre-acknowledged advances and the advances themselves. So somebody asked, how much does the preseason loan cost? How much does the during season loan cost? So with EPS, let's get over there. Depending on what amount gets approved. So they can get approved for $250 all the way up to $6,000. But the way that the $6,000 works is up to the $2,500, there's not a consumer APR, but anything above it is like a loan, and they get charged a 36% rate after so many days. Oh, as far as so somebody was asking about the ERO preseason loan. I'm assuming that's the one for the startup cost. They take it from your fees that you get from the customer. I'm just not sure how much they actually charge you, but that would be in the details when you log in and initiate it and approve it. It should go over everything in the fine print. Like when you sign up for a credit card and they tell you this is what the amount's going to be after 30 days and so forth. It's when you go in there and you approve the amount, because it'll tell you what amount that you got approved for as far as the loan goes. And in the fine print, it will go over all those little details of how much they're going to charge you and so forth. Well, I thank you for joining my training, and I hope to see you in my upcoming trainings as well. If you guys have any questions, please reach out to us. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.